Hello Internet, it's Anthony Deanerain here from Dream Toronto Homes. It's an absolutely beautiful day outside today, but for those of you not fortunate enough to be outside, don't worry, I'm indoors today as well. Now, today I'm going to talk to you guys about new construction condos. Now, a lot of people are uncertain about the whole process works, about what to expect, so today I'm going to give you a basic rundown of from start to finish. So the first step is to go into the sales center, and typically they'll have floor plans of lots of different units at different price points at different floors. Now typically you'll pay $500 to $1,000 for each floor you go up. Usually once you get past the penthouse level, it could be anywhere $2 to $3 to even $25,000 more than the floor before. Now, before, penthouse used to mean, the highest floors, big units, but now it's been watered down to certain condos in the downtown floor actually have, 3 or 4 levels of penthouse units. So the real penthouse, then lower penthouse 1, lower penthouse 2, lower penthouse 3. So there will definitely be a premium paid per floor. Now, the next step is to choose a good floor plan. Now, a lot of people, it's a bit difficult for them to read floor plans. This is where the salespeople or your own agent can be of assistance to you. Now, one thing you really want to be careful when you're buying new construction is to look at the survey and to look at the condominium floor plan, not just your unit, but the actual floor plan for the entire floor that you'll be on. Now, things that you want to avoid is being behind an elevator shaft. Now, there could be noise coming through the shaft. When people are outside talking, waiting for the elevator, you will definitely hear that through your door. You also want to stay away from garbage chutes. The last thing you want is to hear, banging, 2 doors banging, one for the garbage chute, 2 the main door to get in, constantly, all the time. Think about it, there's 10, 15 people per floor, and if they have to put out garbage once every day or once every other day, that's a lot of potential noise. The other thing is, if you are going to be buying on a lower floor, you want to make sure that you stay away from the stairwell exits. For example, on the second floor, again, you'll have people coming up all the time, and you'll be constantly hearing doors banging, and those are fire-rated doors, so it's not like a soft little thumb. So the next step is, once you've selected the floor plan that you like, and once you've made sure that there isn't anything wrong with where it's situated on the actual full floor, the next thing you want to check is view. Now, anytime if you are buying in a downtown core that you see an empty parking lot, it's a safe bet that it will be built up, at some point in the future, if not now, in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, the other thing you want to be careful of is, are there train tracks nearby? Is it next to streetcar tracks? Is it on a main road? Now, the reason you want to avoid this is, again, potential noise issues. It's always nice to have a quiet unit. If it is going to be on a main street, the higher up you go, the less the noise will be. But again, certain areas, for example, City Place, doesn't matter how high you go, as long as you're facing the Gardner, you will get some noise. With City Place, all the north-facing buildings on the north end of the City Place complex face the railway tracks again, so you will hear the train noise, doesn't matter how high you are. Again, your agent will help you with this to make sure that there isn't anything funny with the unit that you're buying. So the next step is, once you've sorted all that out, is to make sure that you qualify for the mortgage. The best thing to do, usually each builder and each site will work with a specific bank, be it BMO, CIBC, Scotiabank. Now, the trick here is that site will allow you to lock in a rate for 2 to 3 years with the bank that they've selected, whereas if you go directly to the bank, they won't lock you a rate for longer than 6 months. Some banks, the max they'll do is 3 or 4 months. So next step is, once you're certain of the rate, that your pre-approval is good, you can go in and put in an offer on the unit. Typically the builder will want a $2,000 deposit with the offer. Then within 30 days they'll want the balance of 5%, so whatever the 5% is minus $2,000. Then in 90 days another 5%, and in 120 days another 5%, and then it could be 180 to 240 days for the final 5%. And then typically, upon interim occupancy, which I'll explain in a second, they might want another 5%. So typically 20 to 25% is the down payment that you'll need for a new construction condo. Now, if you have a line of credit, you can access those funds to pay those interim deposits. Now, there are certain projects that do have certain incentives from time to time. For example, 5% down or 10% down, but that's definitely not the norm. Now, after, let's say, a year or two has passed and the building's finally up. Now, do keep in mind that buildings can be delayed. I bought one that was supposed to be finished 2 years ago that's actually going to be finished in February. So you never really know. It's been delayed about 3 times already. So with pre-construction, you can never, yes, they'll tell you, June 2012, but really bank on, June 2012, June 2013. Just make sure you're not pressured to definitely move on that date. Now, as it gets closer to occupancy, they will give you a more concrete date, so it's not like you'll be in the air as to when you're going to move. So when the building is up, they'll give you the keys, and this is called interim occupancy. Now, at this point, your mortgage doesn't kick in. Your mortgage kicks in on your second closing date, or what's known as the final closing date. So basically what happens is, on the interim occupancy, your builder will charge you what's called an occupancy fee. Now, this will typically be the total purchase price minus the deposits that you've paid at a certain interest rate that the builder will determine. So you'll pay essentially his mortgage on your unit, as well as a tax rate that he's going to determine, and a maintenance fee that was determined when you purchased the unit. I'm going to talk a little bit about maintenance fees in a second. Now, that interim occupancy fee could be for 2 months, could be 12 months. So the trick here is, if you purchase on a lower floor, typically the builders will build 2 floors a week when they're really getting going to finish the units. Now, what happens is, if you buy on the second floor, you're going to pay the interim occupancy the longest, whereas if you're on a penthouse floor or a higher floor, you might only have a few months of occupancy fees. This is because the building can't get registered until most of the people have moved in and until the building is substantially complete. So that's why if you go to the top, you won't have to worry about the occupancy fees too much. Then what happens is, once the building actually gets registered, the builder can give you the title, and at that point the mortgage kicks in. So at this point, a few months prior to, you want to be in touch with your mortgage broker and to make sure that you're getting the absolute lowest possible rate that you can get. Now, just to touch a little bit on maintenance fees. Now, the builder has to sort of guess 3 years before, sometimes even 4 years, what the maintenance fees are going to be at that point. Now, I'm going to touch on my next video what maintenance fees are comprised on and how exactly that works. But just to give you a gist of it, the maintenance fees typically in the first year will jump by a substantial amount because of inflation and because the cost of contracts have gone up. For example, concierge services, elevator contracts, cleaning services. They'll typically be, like builders will tell you, 42 cents or 45 cents a square foot plus hydro. But after the first year, it could jump up to anywhere, 55 to 60 cents. But don't worry, I'll touch on that in my next video. But thank you so much for watching, and you can check out my blog at dreamtorontohomes.com /blog. Thanks again, Anthony from Dream Toronto Homes.